Hello everybody and welcome back to Juno New Origins, where we need quite a lot more power to get this thing where we want it to be. And that is definitely going to take some work. So we need to complete our Luna landing contract. This is going to be crewed, and we're going to look to recover it as well. So we need to get to Luna, safely land, and come back, which the contract doesn't technically require, but we're going to do that anyway. So let's hop in here. We need to boost up the power level of our main booster here. So first things first, I'm going to get rid of this Ifrit engine, and we're going to look for a big liquid-fueled liftoff engine. So that would be like the Mage engine, probably. Yeah, that would be the Mage engine. So that's going to go there. We're going to use these solid-fueled side boosters, and I want to make sure that this is auto-selected to Carolox, which it is. Okay, so we want to make sure that this is optimized for sea level. So down at sea level, we can see that our specific impulse is 226 seconds. So the throat size will decrease efficiency in a vacuum. So we want to increase our thrust up to maximum here. The current nozzle is a Bravo nozzle. We could have this be a Bell nozzle or a cone nozzle. What is best for this nozzle length at sea level? Technically, that's the Bravo, but the Bell nozzle is probably going to end up working a little bit better. So we want to have somewhere around, looks like about 60% nozzle length is our best specific impulse at sea level. So something like that. So this is going to put us in stage 1 at 1.6 thrust to weight ratio. Okay, I'm wondering about burn time. This is claiming 56 seconds, but what's the burn time relative here? That I don't know. That'll be very interesting. So we're on a gas generator power cycle. This is pressure fed, which is not amazing. And those are the only real options. So I think the gas generator is definitely what we want. We could crank up the size, but I want to see how this goes with this liquid-fueled engine with the 2 side boosters. Let's see what this feels like. I don't expect to get to orbit with this, to be clear. Okay, so let's put this over at about 70 degrees for right now. And throttle up. Is that on the east side? No, that's on the west side. So we want this to be about here. There we go. Got turned around. But that is absolutely a-okay. Let's lift off. Okay, so this is lifting off just with the SRBs right now. I'm not sure where this engine is in the staging. I guess it is immediately following the SRB side boosters. So this is not necessarily what I intended to have for the SRBs. I intended for this to all fire at once, and we'll just test to see what this feels like. Let's go to 2x speed, and I want to see what this puts our apoapsis at, and how controllable this is. So we're crossing an apoapsis of about 10 kilometers here. That's definitely noted. You can see our thrust to weight is non-great. That's for sure. And our overall surface speed is not phenomenal. We're also losing attitude a bit here. I say a bit. We're losing attitude quite a lot. However, once we get the Mage engine online, it gimbals, so we're able to bring this back pretty thoroughly. Time to apoapsis is going down. Our thrust to weight is negative. So we definitely need to move those together. I mean, that's not surprising. I knew that that was probably going to be a thing the moment we went in. I like the check your staging sign. Yeah, that was necessary here. Definitely. So this Mage engine would go together with the 2 Ifrits, and that's going to progress us a lot further through that stage. I want to see what the relative burn times are of the side boosters compared to the central booster. So let's bring this to 60, and we might consider making these liquid-fueled as well. We'll see what that feels like. Why is this saying we have 0% fuel? Okay, it changed when we changed that. Perfect. So we want to put this at about 70 degrees here-ish and just burn it something like this. It looks like we are losing attitude as is a little bit. We can shoot up, straight up, a little bit further if we want. And checking in here, we have a thrust to weight of about 2. We're definitely picking up a lot of speed. So our apoapsis is not all that high right now. That is certainly noted. We've got about 30% fuel left here, in theory. And our stage burn time is about 60 additional seconds. So that is noted. We're definitely moving a lot better than we were before. Looks like our side boosters are gone. So let's get rid of those. And we're going to work just off of this Ifrit. So at this point, we can see that we're at about 0.9 thrust to weight. That is not great on the thrust to weight ratio, and that indicates we need to increase the size of this engine. At least a little bit. Yeah, this is not... Whoa. That just immediately snapped down to here. Okay. Well, that is not a concern for the moment. We'll just bring this back, and we need to definitely increase the thrust of this engine here. So that means we need to increase the size of it up to... maybe like 125 or so. We'll see what that feels like. We could also swap these over to being liquid fueled and have similar engines. So I'm going to do that. We're going to duplicate this guy and put it here. That means that this should now be on Carolox, and these up here should also be on Carolox. Like that. And then this should be on fuel transfer mode normal. So the question is, what does that actually mean as far as the fuel crossfeed? Now, this is going to be a little more expensive, but that should be, in theory, a lot more powerful. What's our thrust to weight off the pad? Well, we don't know yet. Let's throttle this up. Let's put it at 60 degrees on the east side. So 60 degrees over here. And let's not actually be on 2x. Let's just see how this goes. Oh yeah, that's what we wanted, for sure. The staging is broken. That's okay. That is okay. So let's hop in here, and we can see, yeah, this is trying to pop off the side stages right away for some interesting reason. Let's just move this down. Let's add a new stage here, put this here. Side interstages would go here. Okay. Just checking the rest of this staging. So these interstages would fire here, in theory, assuming that we have proper fuel flow. Okay, something kind of like that. Let's go ahead and save this. Yes, there we go. And let's try that. We're just working on feeling out the design for this thing. I don't yet know exactly how fuel flow works in this game, and that is going to be important to find out. Okay, off we go. Boy, that thing is very eager to pitch over. Okay, so our thrust to weight here is kind of on the low side. I want to check in. This is draining fuel. This is not draining fuel. So normal seems to be about what we're looking for. Okay. That's good to know. I'm not convinced that this thrust to weight is quite what we're looking for. We're probably going to add a little bit more power in these engines. But for now, this is looking... I mean, we definitely pitched over a little too quickly. That's for sure. How are we looking out over here? About 30% fuel in the side tanks now. Okay. Now, we could quad couple this instead of just having the two side boosters. I'm not sure how necessary that would really be. We're down to about 10% fuel in these side tanks. 3, 2, 1, and side tanks are out. Let's go. So now we're burning this central tank here, and that is fully fueled, so we're definitely fairly high up. We can see our thrust to weight ratio is just over 1. So I think it's clear that we need some additional... We definitely need some additional thrust here. No doubt about that. Our surface speed is barely increasing. But we're still just feeling out how this works with the liquid fuel. Time to apoapsis is currently holding at 36 seconds. Okay, it's going up. So that's definitely noted. We're punching up through the atmosphere. Interesting that we're seeing gains there. I want to run this to completion. I still don't think that this is going to get us where we want to go by any means, but it's certainly interesting. We can see that our apoapsis is starting to go up. What's our thrust to weight once we get into this next stage, though? I think that's pretty low. We haven't really worked on this stage, and I would definitely like to do so. We've got about 200 meters per second left here. This is going to propel us up to about 50 kilometers. That's definitely pretty low still. And a lot of this is because our thrust to weight remained quite low overall. I don't know why this is immediately dropping over to horizontal. That seems strange to me. But let's just park this here, and our thrust to weight is 0.41. We should be expecting, yeah, time to apoapsis being dropping here. So let's pull this back. That definitely told us what we needed to know, which is, A, we don't want to head over quite that steeply to begin with. We would want to have this be like maybe 80 or 85 degrees off the pad, because this pivots very swiftly. But we also know that we need to boost up our engine thrust, at least in this center stage here. So let's grab this guy and let's bring this up to around 150% in terms of the size. That's definitely boosting up our costs. No doubt about that. But we're going to do something like that. So that puts this first stage at a thrust to weight of, this is claiming 0.25. What? Why is this interstage here? Where's that interstage supposed to be? That's this interstage. So that should go whenever this engine fires. Hang on, we've got some wackiness going on here. Where's this engine at? It's here. Okay. Are we good on the staging now? Well, no. This goes up here. There's a lot of interstages here. Yeah, we definitely need to modify our staging here. Okay, so we've got these three. That's good. Then these two fire. That's good. Then this engine fires, and this interstage happens simultaneously. Then this fires, and we need this interstage. Then all of these fall off. Then the landing legs, then the parachutes. Really, it should be landing legs, then these fall off, then the parachutes. So this should be the correct staging. Okay. So, with the additional thrust here, and with the correct staging, let's see what that feels like. So we're going to go for a much steeper ascent trajectory, at least at the beginning. I'm going to put this at 85 for right now. And then once these come off, we'll go to like 45, I think. Let's put this at 80. I just staged it. Okay. I didn't intend to do that. We need to retry. Okay. Now, we're going to move this over to 80. There we go. Throttle up. And we stage. Cool. So yeah, this is a little too aggressive on the horizontal still. And that's certainly noted. We can see our thrust to weight is definitely a little higher. We might still boost up the size of these side boosters or increase up to 4 side boosters, which might not be a terrible idea. Going to 4 side boosters instead of 2. Let's see where this puts us in terms of our altitude. It should be pretty high in comparison because we're putting a lot more verticality into this. So we can definitely see these side boosters are draining their fuel quickly because they are supplying fuel to this engine as well. So we've got about 30% fuel left there. 25. 20%. And about 10% fuel remaining in the side boosters. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 mark. So off they go. And now I want to target us at about that 45-degree marker. So we want to burn here for a while. We can see this apoapsis is reasonably high. We're working on building up our lateral speed at this point. The idea here is this stage really needs to be the one to transfer us to the moon and do the braking burn. And I'm not sure how much delta V we actually have in it. We're going to need like 2 kilometers per second at least for that, probably. So that's certainly noted. This is definitely too early for this stage. So I would like to have more power in this first stage, and we could definitely think about doing that. But I want to see how close we get here. So we're just going to do something like that, bringing this over to a 0-degree pitch. Our apoapsis is not fantastic. You can see we're at 1.8 minutes to apoapsis right now, and our lateral speed is going to have to go up by a lot. Our delta V in this stage is also only about 500 meters per second, 600 meters per second. This stage is definitely insufficient for a transit stage. So let's go ahead and bring this back. We definitely learned some interesting things there, as in we're going to need more power in this stage. No doubt about that. The thing I want to do that is I want to grab this guy, and I want to switch it to Radial X4. So we're just going to do something like that. That shouldn't mess up our staging, in theory. Yeah, that looks good. And let's save this. We can see this is up to 23 million to cost. How much are we getting for this, anyway? About 200 million? Okay. Yeah, that's not bad. We've got a lot of headroom here, so we can definitely do that. So this is going to be like 30 million in terms of overall launch cost. That's wonderful. So we're going to bring this down to about 80 degrees, as we did before. And we're going to burn it there for the time being, until we get some distance, anyway. So let's just lift this guy right on off, positioning at about 80 degrees, and let's get some altitude. I want to move this over to 45 degrees, probably about the time we reach maybe like 50% fuel in these side tanks, which they're going down fairly quickly. It's not quite as quick as it was before. Okay, so that's 65. Let's start moving this over to a pitch of 45 degrees now. About like that. What's our apoapsis right now? It's not tremendously high, but I do want to be building up a lot of lateral speed here. Okay, we're down to 35% fuel on these side tanks. Checking in on that apoapsis, it's definitely going up quite quickly at this point. 30 kilometers. Looks okay. 20% fuel remaining here. 15%. 10% fuel remaining. Okay. Side tanks are out of here. Now I want to be burning at 0 degrees. Now we're still pretty low in the atmosphere here. So actually, I want to be burning at like 30 degrees right now, as I think about it. So we want to put this at about 30 degrees here because this apoapsis is still kind of low. So let's just burn here for a bit. We can see we built up a lot of lateral speed. We're still going to need work on this stage. So we'll see what that feels like. Maybe that's really more of a braking stage. I don't know. It might be. So our apoapsis is high enough now, and I want to just be burning purely laterally at this point. That looks reasonable. We're moving at Mach 5 right now, and we've got about 20% fuel left in this stage, but that's only about 200 meters per second. Okay, so that accelerated us up okay. But it didn't really get me quite as far as I'd hoped. So, let's make some additional alterations to it. I want to continue to boost up that first stage. So, to that end, here's what we're going to do. We're going to pop off this interstage. Actually, we're going to pop off this tank here. I'm going to add an additional number of meters here. We're going to bring this up to a 30-meter length. And then we're going to reattach this. And we're going to increase the length of these to be maybe about 25 meters in length, like that. Now, that's going to drop our thrust to weight here. I want to grab these guys, and I want to boost these engines up to be 150 in size. But I want to boost this guy to be about 175. About like that. That is going to add additional cost. That's understood. But that's going to be a lot of thrust to weight, and we'll have some extra burn time as well. So that's just adding additional power into that first stage. Let's put one or more issues. What issues do we have? Oh, we're too tall. So 2.6 meters of height. Okay. Well, we could drop this down by, this would be 27.4, I believe, to be where we want to be. Something like that. We could add the additional fuel back over here to put all of these equivalently at 27.4. Like that. So now the fuel will be outside rather than inside. We'll get a little more fuel out of it this way, but a little less thrust to weight. We'll see what that ends up looking like. Okay, let's run a quick test on that. And I want to put this at 85 degrees to launch. And off we go. So we can see our thrust to weight is quite up there. I am not going to drop our attitude here until our apoapsis is probably somewhere around 60. So that'll be relatively fine. And we can see we've got a fair amount of delta V in this stage. No doubt about that. So our apoapsis is currently about 20. We've got a lot of thrust to weight here for sure. 25. 30. 35. I want to keep an eye on this. 40. 50. And 60. So now I'm dropping this over to 45 degrees. Okay. We're throttling down on these side engines here, and we see heat damage happening. Okay, so that all burned up due to heat damage. So that indicates that our thrust to weight is actually too high. So we're going to bring that back. We're going to turn down the size of this center engine a little bit. So this center engine is clearly too powerful at this moment. So I'm going to bump this down to being about, I want to look about here, maybe about 160. Something like that. So just dialing back that thrust to weight a little bit. Let's give this a go and see what happens. We definitely want to have this be at a fairly low pitch, or rather a fairly high pitch here. And yeah, we just built up too much speed there and too much heat built up. I think a big part of it was the fact that this nose cone, or not nose cone, the bell of this nozzle was in the exhaust path of these other nozzles. I think that's probably a significant portion of what happened there. So this will very likely fix that issue. Okay, let's keep an eye on these fuel tanks. We're down to 60% fuel there. Excellent. And we're just punching up through the atmosphere right now. So that's an apoapsis of 30 kilometers. That's 40. That's 50. That's 60. We're moving this over to 45 degrees. Because I want to be getting a lot of lateral velocity right now. And we can see the apoapsis is way up there at this point. We're letting this fuel burn off. That was a weird separation. Okay, we're kind of lucky that that didn't impact this. But we need to be getting horizontal speed purely at this point. We can see our apoapsis is 137. That's definitely a lot more powerful there, and we've got about 1 kilometer per second of DV here. We need a lot of lateral speed. That's for sure. So that is understood. We'll let that proceed for now. 600 meters per second left in this, so this doesn't have the greatest delta V here. We can see that the specific impulse is at 242 seconds right now, and that is absolutely understood. But we're just continuing to burn horizontally here, and the time to apoapsis should be going down at this moment is what I would be expecting. We're just trying to build up that lateral speed as much as we can. We're going to have this engine turning off now. And now we're on this engine. So now we're at 0.45 thrust to weight. I don't know that this even makes it to orbit here, but we might make it to orbit. But this is really intended to be like, we might want to think about this as a braking burn once we arrive at the moon. And if that's the case, we do need a fair amount of additional delta V out of our lifting stage. So that's definitely a concern. We would make it into orbit if we didn't care about burning any of this fuel, but I kind of do care about that. And you can see just how far away we are from actually making it into orbit. If we go into orbital velocity here, you can see we've got about 1 kilometer per second to go. This is a very heavy payload, and it's going to be some additional work to get that done. So that's absolutely okay, but this is absolutely a heavy payload, and we're very, very interested in getting that dealt with. We need to get this lifted, and we are going to be out of DV in this stage. So you can see our lifting is still a little bit too weak. We're now tapping into this stage here, and the thrust to weight here is really low, and we're currently going to be going down. So yeah, we don't quite achieve orbit here. We're short by about 1 kilometer per second, and that's not shocking. We need to continue to work on that first stage, and that's okay. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Ali Lee, Dark Horse Xenocyte, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.